First in high definition from the station on your side, this is WAVY News 10.
We have breaking news out of Los Angeles. Dick Clark has died.
He called himself America's oldest teenager, and we watch what seemed to be an ageless personality bring rock and roll into the mainstream on American Bandstand, one of the longest running series on television.
Clark's family is not releasing details about his death. He suffered a stroke in 2004, but continued hosting the annual New Year's Eve special.
And he also produced several game shows and specials, including the American Music Awards and the $25,000 Pyramid. Dick Clark was 82. Well, a night of violence in Hampton. It all began with a woman stabbed, shot, and burned, and ended with a police shootout. Police
rushed to the home on Ravenscroft Lane in the Azalea Gardens neighborhood off Pembroke Avenue this morning. They got a call of a domestic disturbance. And that ended with 4 people dead.
We have team coverage of this investigation. Katie Collette's at the scene.
And Stephanie Harris spent the day learning more about the victims.
But first, Katie spoke with neighbors and a good friend of the family. Katie.
Tom and Nicole, you can take a look and see crews are still here. They are still going in and out of this home. This all began around 4:30 this morning, so they have been here for hours looking for answers and evidence. Neighbors say they knew the couple who owned the home recently had some marital problems, but they say they never imagined it would end like this.
It's kind of eerie right now.
The daylight shows the reality of this morning's deadly chaos.
I heard screaming, yelling, and so once I got up and I went to my closet window, that's when I could see the lights flashing, and I opened the blinds and it looked like a tactical situation.
Calvin Silver, exactly right. When police got to this home, they say they found a woman lying in the street, shot, stabbed, and burned. She told them her family was still in the home that was now on fire. This exclusive video from a neighbor shows the flames at their peak. On the roof ledge of the burning home, a man with a gun.
As I was opening the door, I heard a pop or a bang, which sounded like a gunshot. And at that time, the officers, they were standing behind police cars and fire trucks. They told me to go back in.
At that moment, police say the man on the roof fired at them, and they shot back. Silver watched through his window.
At that point, he was pretty much lifeless. And that's when the firemen started to try to get into the house and try to put out the fire.
When firefighters went inside, they made a tragic find, something Silver hoped wasn't the case.
I was asking the firefighters, I was like, you know, did the baby get out? Did you get the baby out? And
sadly, investigators say the baby did not survive. They say they found her little body next to a woman who also passed away. While crews hurried to put the fire out, emergency workers rushed the woman found in the street and the suspect to the hospital. That's where police say both of them died. Devastating news for Silver to hear.
It hits me real hard. And the one thing in particular is that, you know, the baby girl is only 1 year old, and, you know, and she's gone, you know, for something senseless.
And we're back here live along Ravenscroft Lane, and you can see the investigation continues. Investigators trying to figure out exactly what went wrong here. Now, 3:05 this morning, that's when the man who lives next door to this now burned out home says the fighting began. We'll let you know what he heard that made him look at his alarm clock at exactly that moment. Coming up, new at 6. Live in Hampton, Katie Collette, 10 on your side.
And Hampton police have not released the names of those involved, but we did speak with people who know them. Friends and neighbors tell us the woman who died outside the home worked for the Newport News School District. The man police shot worked for UPS. 10 on your side, Stephanie Harris went to the school administration building to find out more. Stephanie.
Tom, Newport News Schools had no official comment. In fact, they have not yet confirmed she worked there, but workers outside the administration building told me that it, in fact, was their co-worker who police found outside that Hampton home. We met Ernest Marshall, who was detailing cars in the school administration parking lot this afternoon, and he said the woman was a customer who had a bubbly personality and that her co-workers are stunned.
The lady who informed me told me they weren't really getting anything done. It just it was such a tragedy that like nobody could get anything done, which is understandable because she had such a nice personality.
He says a nice lady, a good job, but as we discovered, she was an abused wife in the middle of a divorce and a child custody battle. Coming up at 5:30, what I found in court documents that came as a surprise.
All right, Steph, we'll look forward to hearing more about that. And here's a breakdown of tonight's top story. It all began with a call about a possible domestic situation on Ravenscroft Lane around 4 in the morning. And when Hampton police got there, they found a woman who had been shot and stabbed. She later died at the hospital. Police also found a man on the roof. He was killed in a shootout with officers. The house was on fire, and firefighters found a woman and child dead inside.
New breaking developments from Richmond. The Virginia Senate just passed a 2-year, $85 billion budget. Now it's headed to Governor McDonnell. Also today, a toll delay. The Commonwealth Transportation Board approved $100 million to pay down the tunnel tolls. 10 on your side's Andy Fox is live in Richmond to tell us what today's development means for us. Andy?
Well, this is an amazing development with the state budget. Senator Chuck Colgan from Northern Virginia voted with Republicans, so it passed. Now, what's interesting about that is one of the sticking points was to get more money to pay down tolls in Northern Virginia. He's from Northern Virginia, and he voted with Republicans, and the budget passed because he was afraid that the state government would shut down if they did not have a budget. I also want to point out that Chesapeake Senator Harry Blevins was actually brought back to the Capitol. He had left. He was brought back in order to cast a vote in favor of Republicans. So what that means is that Northern Virginia did not get any more toll abatement money. Hampton Roads is the only area that got toll abatement, and we will not pay tolls on the downtown and midtown tunnels until January 2014. The body language of Secretary of Transportation Sean Connaughton best sums up his frustration over tolls and paying them down.
Mr. Gorzinski.
Yes, sir. Toll abatement on the midtown and downtown tunnels must be approved in this case by the Commonwealth Transportation Board. Aubrey Lane represents Hampton Roads.
From our refinancing savings plus state placeholder we had set aside that we did not have to put on the project originally. It will not impact Hampton Roads or other projects across the state. It's not coming out of our 6-year plan.
Lane asked board members to support $100 million to delay tolls until January 2014. $87 million of that comes from favorable interest rates.
Because the savings that occurred during the closing last Friday, we'll be able to actually use to help delay the tolls through January 2014.
We wanted to ask the private partners, Elizabeth River Crossings, about the deal. They didn't want to talk. I'd like to ask ERC about this. She's right there.
We can talk in just a minute.
I asked Secretary Connaughton what happens in 2014.
We think one of the big things will happen in January 2014 is that people actually see construction going on. People actually being employed. I mean, we're looking at 500 to 600 people being employed down there on this project.
I asked Lane, could there be another deal to pay down the toll?
Is it possible that after January 2014 that another deal's made where we continue not to pay tolls?
I suppose anything's possible, but I don't see how we're going to do major road projects in this state without private investments, and that usually is going to mean tolls.
So the most important thing for everyone to know in Hampton Roads is there will be no tolls on the downtown and midtown tunnels until January 2014. Coming up tonight on WAVY News 10 at 6. Even though this is the deal, there's still a lot of legislators that are not happy because there's still no long-term plan to pay for transportation needs in the future. I'll have that story tonight on WAVY News 10 at 6. In Richmond, Andy Fox, 10 on your side.
Police say a man exposed himself to 3 different people at a park in Newport News. So officers arrested 27-year-old Tony Watson and charged him with indecent exposure. 3 adults told detectives that Watson exposed himself to them yesterday morning at King Lincoln Park. He's an adult, but his parents have to go with him when he goes to Lynn Haven Mall. A judge says so. Andrew Matsu of Virginia Beach pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct after trying to take pictures under a girl's skirt at the store. Ted on Your Side reported this arrest last July. The sentence also includes completing a youth challenge program and 3 years probation. Coming up on WAVY News 10 at 5:30.
Missing work is not something that is in character for Kelly.
So where is that missing North Carolina soldier? We're digging into details about the hours before she disappeared.
10 on Your Side uncovered new information about this deadly accident on a busy Suffolk highway. We'll tell you what police say happened before the SUV rolled over, killing a Virginia Beach teen.
And take a look at this, a car hanging from a house. You're going to find out how this happened.
And a look at some rainfall way on off to the west, but it is going to eventually get here. Really, it'll approach from the southwest and start to move on in. And we could really use the rainfall throughout the region. It's been 2 weeks since we've seen rainfall of anything better than 1/10 of an inch. And so we're well below normal for the month, well below normal for the year. We'll tell you how much rain we're going to get with our forecast in a few minutes.
Texas police say a nurse admitted she shot and killed a young mother and kidnapped her newborn son. Witnesses say 30-year-old Verna McLean shot Kayla Marie Golden several times outside a pediatrician's office, then drove away with her 3-day-old son, Keegan. Police found Keegan at the suspect's home 6 hours later when they arrested her. McLean is charged with capital murder. Family members say McLean told them she was about to adopt a child.
Did the Los Angeles Times put American troops at risk? The military says yes, after the paper published photos that appear to show U.S. troops posing with body parts of suicide bombers. The Times says it got the pictures from a soldier at Fort Bragg. The photos are 2 years old. The soldier told the newspaper that he wanted to bring attention to safety risks and breakdown in leadership and discipline. The Department of Defense asked the Times not to publish them. Tonight at 5:30, how the Pentagon is reacting to the release of those photos.
A close call for one family in Brazil after an out-of-control car crashed into the side of their house. Take a look at this video. You can see the car hanging from the second story of the house in Sao Paulo. Everyone inside the home is okay, but the car hit just a few feet from a baby's bed. Police investigators said the driver will be charged with driving without a license and risking the lives of others.
The London Olympic Games are 100 days away. There's Olympic fever everywhere as the city gears up to host the world. An Olympic clock in downtown there in London, counting down the time until the opening ceremony on July 27th. Organizers held other events across the country to mark that milestone. At Kew Gardens in West London, there are giant Olympic rings made of flowers. The floral rings of pansies, violas, and apple mint took 5 days to plant. In central London, 260 guardsmen at the Horse Guards Parade formed the number 100, and someone built a giant sandcastle in Weymouth. Tonight at 5:30, meet a local athlete training for the Games.
Fire impact. How this explosion in Germany could mean car trouble here in the U.S.
And a Virginia Beach teen died. 2 of his family members were thrown from this SUV after it ran off the road and flipped on a Suffolk highway. Tonight, new information from police about what happened before the accident.
You're watching WAVY News 10 at 5 with Tom Shad, Nicole Ribas, and Super Doppler 10 Chief Meteorologist Don Slater.
We're learning more about a deadly crash on Route 58 in Suffolk that killed a teenage boy.
An accident report shows the driver fell asleep. 16-year-old James Normile of Virginia Beach died in the accident. Paramedics took 4 injured family members to the hospital. 10 on your side's Ava Hurdle spoke with one of Normile's classmates this afternoon. Ava?
Nicole, Chase Henderson is also a neighbor who's known Normile for several years and finds the situation tough to deal with.
The Normile's SUV overturned on Route 58 in Suffolk as the family was headed back to Virginia Beach from a spring break trip. According to an accident report, quote, the driver of the vehicle fell asleep. It goes on to say, quote, the vehicle then overturned and passenger 3 was killed as a result of impact sustained in the vehicle. 16-year-old James Normile was killed. His father, Jay, was driving, according to the report. His father, mother, 2 sisters, and a brother were transported to local hospitals for treatment. Just last year, James's younger brother drowned. His mother, Elise, chronicled it in a book, And When the Bow Broke. A friend says the death of James' brother had a deep impact.
It changed his life completely, and I know his parents don't deserve to lose another kid.
Chase Henderson, a 10th grader at Kellam High School, has known James since 5th grade. He says his friend loved to skate and to surf.
His favorite thing to do had to be surfing. He just loved the water, loved going surfing, loved waves. We always played soccer in my front yard, and we always had fun doing it.
Henderson says James was a member of the junior varsity soccer team.
He was probably the nicest kid I've ever met in my life. There's not one kid that doesn't like him at Kellam.
Updated condition reports on the accident survivors are not available at their request. An investigation of this accident continues. I'm Ava Hurdle, 10 on your side.
A paddle out for James Normile is set for 5 p.m. this Saturday at the Sandbridge Marketplace off Sandbridge Road in Virginia Beach.
Well, a fiery scene this afternoon on the interstate. Here's the video from our WAVY traffic jam camp. You see it there right in the middle of your screen. A car caught fire on westbound 264 at Greenwood Drive. This is 3 p.m. State police told 10 on your side that no one was hurt.
Now, in high definition, your Super Doppler 10 forecast with Chief Meteorologist Don Slater.
And we're looking at some changes. We've already seen some big changes in terms of temperature during the day today. It's been into the 80s to near 90 degrees into the first part of the week, and now here we are with temperatures right now around 60 degrees. And there is some rain in the distance. It's still way on off to the west of us, but we are going to see some of this action. You can see it's starting to turn a little bit heavier right on down into here. Some of this is going to move on through the area quite likely after midnight, at least after 9 o'clock into the region. So again, there's not much in terms of rainfall out there right now, and certainly not much in terms of thunder and lightning. There were a couple of shots of lightning into South Carolina earlier, but those are pretty well gone. Our skies are mostly cloudy. We've seen a few breaks in the clouds, and of course we saw the breeze coming in off the water. With the water temperature in the upper 50s to around 60, that's really held the temperature down along the water's edge for today. You almost, yesterday I said, throw the windows open for tomorrow. However, it might even be a little bit cool near the coastline to have the windows open, but at least it's a nice breeze. Now, where's the rainfall? By 9 o'clock, could see a couple of stray sprinkles from Richmond southward toward the Franklin area, but nothing too terribly big. Winds dropping on off, 5 to 10 mile an hour winds at 2 o'clock in the morning, and there comes the rain after 2 o'clock in the morning into 7 o'clock. We're very likely to see some rain. Now, there could be a pop or two where we could see around 1/4 of an inch or so of rain, but again, most of us, not that much rain at all during the day for tomorrow. By the noon hour, we could see a stray shower or two, but most of it should be gone. Northerly winds at 10 to 15 miles an hour at the noon hour for tomorrow. Skies remaining mostly cloudy at that point. But by the end of the day, a few breaks in the clouds, 10 to 15 mile an hour winds, and we'll work our way into Friday. Still some cloud cover, but some sunshine too. Northeasterly winds at 10, and I've got a feeling that we're going to warm up a little bit more during the day coming up on Friday with the addition of a bit more sunshine. Now, as far as rainfall, it's not likely to be all that much. We could really use the rainfall. We could see as much as 1/4 of an inch of rain, but I think we got a much better shot at some rain coming up for the weekend. A much more substantial rain, quite likely. Overnight, midnight, and we'll take you into tomorrow morning. I think it's actually going to drop a little bit more, but I think the temperatures for tomorrow are basically right. It's only going to be into the 63, 64 degree range for most of us during the day for tomorrow. Here's where we are as far as cloud cover. Again, we got lots of cloud cover, but no rainfall going on quite yet. And temperatures right now, again, basically into the low 60s, mostly cloudy skies, upper 50s, low 60s. A little warmer, though, in the inland areas after a high today this morning, when we did see a little more sunshine, a little bit of a brief burst of sunshine. Our temperature popped up to 68. 74, though, on Friday, really warming up for Saturday. Now, Saturday night, and especially into Sunday, we could see some substantial rainfall coming up by Sunday, tapering off Monday and Tuesday.
We have results from a new wireless report. You'll find out what cell phone carriers are likely to deliver the fastest 4G.
This is about a reputation of an organization that goes back to 1865 and a proud tradition of quiet professionals.
The investigation into the Secret Service prostitution scandal continues. New at 5:30, what the U.S. is doing to make sure top secret information didn't end up in the wrong hands.
A tech magazine is calling out AT&T for having the fastest 4G service. PC World measured upload and download speeds in 13 major cities, and AT&T was the fastest, followed by Verizon, T-Mobile, and Sprint.
Some bad news for those with a sweet tooth. Chocolate prices may go up. Instability in regions including West Africa and Southeast Asia is causing a shortage in chocolate's raw ingredient, cocoa. Experts say cocoa production must increase by about 25% in the next few years to keep up with chocolate demand around the world. A fire that happened weeks ago and thousands of miles away could cause problems on the road ahead for the U.S. auto industry. A deadly explosion and fire destroyed a chemical plant in Germany that makes a resin used in plastics called PA12. Without that resin, brake lines, hydraulic fittings, and fuel lines will become scarce. Experts say that means there will be a shorter supply of some vehicles and prices will go up. Automakers are working to find alternate parts and materials. A passenger created quite a scene when he stripped down for airport security. The suspect speaks out about why he bared it all for the TSA.
It might sound like a spin of a popular NBC drama, but it's a real group designed to crack down on sexual abuse in the military. Still ahead at 5:30, we'll tell you about the new Special Victims Unit. You take off your shoes and coat at airport security. In Oregon, this guy took off a little more. He's John Brennan, and he says TSA screeners at Portland International told him that he tested positive for nitrates, so he stripped down. He refused to put his clothes back on and was arrested. There he is. Brennan says he flies often and took off his clothes to protest against TSA screeners who he felt were harassing him.
I've sent in complaint forms and heard nothing. So this was my next action. I know that nude but not lewd in Oregon is a protected speech, and so I chose that option.
But police charged Brennan with disorderly conduct and indecent exposure. They say he was not under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Next, details behind the relationship of the couple involved in this morning's deadly domestic dispute in Hampton.